Hello, welcome to the Enterprise Applications Podcast. How are you today, Robert?
I'm very good. How you doing? It's Friday. I mean, we've had a busy week. We've had a busy few weeks, and we're excited, or I'm excited, and I'm hopefully you are too, to talk about what's going on in the enterprise world, specifically all these great applications and what the vendors are doing.
Yeah, it is. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but it's just going to get busier. So we got a lot to talk about, and I'm glad we've been having a chance to get on here and discuss all of this and what it means because there's a lot to discuss. Quick disclaimer: this show is for information and entertainment purposes only. While we do discuss publicly traded companies, its contents should not be taken as investment advice. So we do have a bunch to talk about here. We're going to talk about enterprise vendors targeting SMBs, Adobe's new Firefly boards, Cloudera, and in that, so much else is going to come out. So, but let's get started on enterprise vendors targeting SMBs because this one caught my eye. It's something that we've been watching pretty closely for a while, but Lenovo just introduced an interesting offering, which they're called Business Ready Infrastructure in a Box. So this includes pre-tested bundles with ThinkSystem SR635v3, SR630v4, validated with Windows Server 2025 Hyper-V. They're also offering TrueScale infrastructure as a service with flexible consumption pricing. So all of this clearly very tailored to kind of a smaller business, mid-size, and something that I think we've been seeing a lot of, not necessarily a lot of what Lenovo is offering, but just a lot of kind of targeting that SMB segment. So what is your read on what's happening here and kind of the competitive dynamics?
It's revealing when you look at from a broader perspective, and you look at the market and what the vendors are doing. Specifically, Salesforce has made a lot of aggressive moves with their free tier for small businesses,
Mm-hmm.
their starter suite pricing. I think it's a nice move because of the fact that these small and medium sized businesses need this extra help. ServiceNow is positioning their ITSM solutions for companies with employees that are less than 50. Zoom's recent Zootopia 2025 even introduced the Zoom Solopreneur 50 initiative, recognizing high growth businesses led by solo founders. It's really nice to see some of these companies focused on this layer, but the competition is intensifying because these vendors recognize the SMBs represent a significant untapped growth. Like Workday reports that 75% of the customers have fewer than 3,500 employees.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a little bit about Workday on the last podcast, but when you consider their SMB approach, they have packages that deploy in as few as like 30 to 60 business days. Kind of sounds like a lot, but when you really look at the complexity, this is not. But they have these pre-configured solutions that combine HCM and finance on a single AI platform. This addresses a core SMB pain point, right? Like the complexity and the lengthy implementations that really have, I think, for a long time made a lot of these enterprise solutions inaccessible to smaller organizations, both from price and deployment standpoint.
Exactly. Like so for Zoho, how they provide the most comprehensive, it's an example of this seed to tree strategy. The recent analyst briefing revealed, I think it was like 40% year over year growth in global customers for the first half of 2025. So they're offering the Zoho Solo targeted specifically at, like we talked about, solopreneurs, freelancers, micro businesses with the permanent free edition. So Zoho's, start from LLC formation in the 50 states, and Zoho One, where the average customer uses 22 applications. The differentiation isn't just pricing; it's in addressing the entire business life cycle from idea to enterprise. But just a caveat I want to mention: I think that those companies might be a little, I'm not sure if it's a fear factor, change management, like. Is it the vendor that isn't offering the solutions as scale and at the level that they are for the larger ones, or is it the companies don't want the technology because they don't need it, or they don't have time for it, or all the above?
No, I mean, I think they need it. I think there's been such a focus on these larger accounts, and in some cases, I've talked to vendors who they are like solely focused on these large enterprise accounts, but really targeting this SMB market is you're gathering all these the high growth potential, especially with AI. You really can't discount any company that's even a startup right now. And I think one of the things, Zoho, you mentioned they have their average customer uses 22 applications. Remember at one of the events where we were at, I think it was Zoholics last
Mhm.
year. They said, raise your hand if you use one, 5, 10, 50. And there were
Yep.
people who still had their hand up at like 35 applications.
Yeah.
They built their entire philosophy around SMB and their
Yeah.
operational realities. So they recognize that these business need integrated solutions that grow with them rather than forcing these major costly migrations. So traditional infrastructure vendors may approach this from a different perspective, but Zoho shows that like they can really kind of create this competitive advantages by understanding the SMB journey from startup to scale. Now, since then, Zoho has clearly kind of tackled the larger the larger enterprise accounts. They've even, I'm sure you've noticed this because you follow them very closely as well, but they've even kind of broken out some of their major events into here's our enterprise events and here's our SMB events. And that really, they actually call them SMZ, small, medium Zohos. But it really gives them the opportunity to really offer things that are for that segment rather than trying to fit things, small things into a big box, big things into a small box. So
Right.
I think it's a great strategy for them and
But do
clearly
you think
others to follow.
the the UI, the UX seems a little bit more straightforward with like with Zoho versus their competition or those small businesses?
I think everybody is kind of adjusting that user experience, and the UI to address what we talked about a little bit last week, which is kind of following a little bit more of consumer behavior rather than it being just this like straight up very enterprise, kind of back end system looking,
Mhm.
rather making it really like the way that people interact with applications in their regular life is the way they want to react. It makes it much easier. I mean, if you look at
That's a good point.
Salesforce and Slack, like, look at how easy it is to use Slack and how often people use Slack in every part of their life. So it really makes sense for them to put the applications within Slack, and that it almost makes it just a no-brainer to start running things that way. So yeah,
Great.
lot there.
Okay, should we shift to Adobe?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's shift to Adobe's Firefly Boards global launch. So this represents a significant strategic move in the creative AI space, which I'm sure you have some really good insights on. So they're integrating multiple third-party video models, including Runway, Aleph, Moon Valley, Marley, alongside existing partners like Flux, Google, Luma AI, and Pika. So the positioning as an AI-first collaborative space really shows how Adobe's recognizing this this creative workflow is really realistic, and fundamentally it's changing and they're adapting. But it seems pretty interesting. What's your
Mhm.
take on it?
Yeah, I like this a lot, actually. I think this is a smart way to approach that with partnerships versus building everything in-house. And obviously, they've built Firefly in-house. They've they've done a great job with not just Firefly, but incorporating that into being able to use it throughout various other applications. But where they're incorporating these different models, it allows users to have a lot of flexibility around what they're using and how they're using it. I like to say that these models sort of each have different personalities. So this one is really good at this and this one's really good at that. And, it's kind of like knowing what your teammates are good at. So you can say like incorporate runways model, which allows users to change lighting, framing, even weather, replacing objects in existing footage. That's the strength of that model. That Firefly is good at, building a particular image. When you get to know those models and as you work with them a lot, it shows that Adobe is acknowledging that their advantages really lies in this orchestration and integration rather than just proprietary AI model development. So I think it's a really good strategic decision that leverages the best available technology while maintaining that ecosystem advantage, because like I said, you can put it into any number of their applications and use various different models.
Exactly. The competitive dynamics are pretty cool here. Figma controls an estimated, I think it's 80, 90% of the UI UX design market, while Runway ML offers a compelling standalone video generation with free tiers at 125 credits and $15 monthly. So that's standard plan. But Adobe's bet is on the seamless integration across their big stuff like Photoshop, Illustrator, the broader Creative Cloud ecosystem. So they have a lot going on here, and it justifies this premium positioning. But Creative Cloud, all apps at $52.99 versus fragmented solutions. I think that's a big case. I mean, I think we always talk about, do you want one solution or a solution that has a lot of features, or do you want to go get them and pull them all together? I mean,
Right.
even if it was less expensive, I think that the price warrants because of that all-inclusive situation.
Yeah.
Turnkey.
And it's all about the workflow efficiency. So Firefly Boards really does help enable that real-time collaboration and iteration within the Adobe ecosystem. So that's going to reduce friction of moving between different tools, different platforms. And so for
Mhm.
enterprise creative teams in particular, they're managing complex projects with multiple stakeholders. That integration can really impact how how productive they are, but also really just in terms of timelines, right? Like we always hear where everybody needs to do more with less, but it's the amount of creative collateral, everything that needs to come out of these companies is actually like alarming, and it's just continuing to progress to where it's faster, faster, faster. So the velocity is really important there. So really, I think Adobe is on this. They're betting that these comprehensive workflow solutions are going to offer a better outcome than and outcompete these sort of point solutions.
I agree, and I think there's a defensive element, right? And we talk about Canva dominating the consumer and SMB creative segments. They have a lower price, so Canva Pros
Mhm.
I think it's $12.99 a month. Adobe needs to demonstrate clear enterprise value. That's with everything, I think, though. But so the Firefly Boards collaborative, features and enterprise grade models, partnerships, position Adobe to retain professional and enterprise customers while potentially expanding. And I think that's their big thing. How do they expand to get these new use cases? And I think that, time will tell.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, if you tie it back to our SMB discussion, that's happening in the creative space, right? We're seeing just this democratization trends where Adobe focuses on a lot on the enterprise integration. The broader market is making really sophisticated creative tools, and they're making them accessible to smaller organizations and individual creators. So it's a pattern, right? The question becomes whether organizations prioritize these integrated platforms, or if they need, maybe in some cases they need more affordable specialized tools that are going to require a little bit more of that manual coordination.
Yeah, precisely. Adobe's approach with Firefly boards suggests they believe integration and workflow efficiency will remain the primary competitive differentiator. And I probably agree with that, even as individual AI capabilities become more commoditized across the creative, technology space. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think you continue to see, I continue to see some kind of copycat solutions. Like I, I have said many times, I'm like, I love Acrobat. Like that may sound like a weird thing to actually really be a fan of, but Adobe Acrobat is really so good with data and pulling the data from the documents that you need. Box has a solution for that, and I'm not saying that's a copycat, but Box has a solution for that. So many different vendors now are using these same types of AI assistant within documents. But if I can stay within my Adobe ecosystem, which I'm often in, and I can do that without having to hop out of it to, check on my PDF and find out what's in it, or even turn something into a PDF, add imaging to it, add, pull from all these different models to do whatever I need to do.
Mhm.
I'm really able to kind of keep things organized and also stay on track, because how often we're switching, like even switching tabs, sometimes I waste a couple of minutes just going, what was I doing? So it's all about the data in the end and keeping it where you need it, right? So, and I think that's a good segment to our segue, not a segment. We're going to segue to a segment. To Cloudera. So you were just at EVOLVE25 in New York City. I
Mhm.
saw Pat did a keynote there,
Yep.
that was very cool to see. I didn't actually see the keynote, but I did see some photos and things on
Mhm.
social media. Very cool. They keep using the term anywhere when describing their platform, and I think preface that with everybody is now wanting to be an AI platform. So what does that mean in real terms? Are they addressing the real problems that companies are facing with data?
So it's a great question. I actually really like that theme. I guess you can call it a theme or a
Yeah.
slogan. More than that, it's a vision, I would say, and I think that they're going to be marketing it a little bit stronger. But we're such customer oriented people. You got to meet the customer where they're at,
Mhm.
and I think that's what they're trying to do. So the idea is pretty straightforward. It's a hybrid or multi cloud. Hybrid is a way of doing business. Multi-cloud, again, the Cloudera has rolled it out where it's a hybrid multi-cloud fabric where it could be on-prem, private, public environment. So they've given themselves the mantra where we're going to, wherever the data is at, we can get it. And they've had some pretty significant acquisitions. One's Tycoon. They're doing partnerships with Dell, with a few other companies, and they're trying to re-architect or modernize, or I guess those are kind of buzzwords, but they're changing the way that they're doing business, where they're meeting that customer anywhere they're at, because they're getting to the point where I've had some conversations with some of the executives where it can't be forcing the customers to do what the vendors need. Whereas go to the cloud, we'll get you modernized. You can have all these tools. That's not going to work anymore because things are changing where the customers don't want to move to the cloud. There could be compliance issues. There could be, specific countries, they have to do certain things a certain way. So I really like it, but it was interesting in the conversations I was talking to them. I asked them, what is the most important data that companies are really wanting to bring over? And they said it's really a mix of structured or unstructured, but unstructured isn't as prevalent yet, but it will be more. But it's mostly, a lot of it is transactional data still, where we know where that comes from. But
Mm.
it was a really interesting conference, and Pat did a fabulous job. He talked a little bit more about the architecture and how things are changing and how important data management strategies are. And you can have the best, AI opportunities, but if you don't have your data in order, you're really not going to be able to take advantage of these great technologies that are in front of us.
That is certainly something that continues to come up in nearly every conversation that I'm having, is that the data is so much of the data that used to be inaccessible is now accessible because of AI, but it's going to continue to become where like the amount of information and the data is like infinite, right? And
Mhm.
so that's where the AI comes in. You can pretty much get answers to almost anything you need at this point. I think there's still some a little bit of the barrier to adoption and even to success is that people still need to know what questions to ask,
Yeah.
how to extract the data.
Yeah.
The data, obviously, the data needs to be ready. It's not just about whether it's structured or unstructured. It's the metadata. There's so much to it, but certainly there's so much opportunity here when you talk about AI and data. But I think one of the biggest selling points, and it sounds like Cloudera is sort of nailing this one on the head, which is flexibility.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Cloudera and how they're managing data, why is that such a big selling point? Why does that matter so much to them right now?
Well, the flexibility is a big deal, like you just mentioned. I think cost, compliance, speed. Some data is too expensive to move and needs to stay local, like I mentioned, for legal reasons.
Hmm.
Um, and and some needs to be processed instantly. And instantly is, what is that? Is that like 5 seconds, 1 second? So
It's
depending
usually
upon,
milliseconds, right? I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
so milliseconds,
And is
exactly.
that
So
happening at the edge, or how are they?
both. So
Yeah.
that's a great question. So they can get it. That's the whole anywhere story. So that's a big deal, and hybrid gives you the balance. Without forcing everything into one box.
Hmm.
So I think I like their approach. I think it's going in the right direction.
Cool.
So
I love this part of it where, like, you went to an event. I'm not as familiar with Cloudera as you are. I mean, this is why we have swim lanes at More Insights and Strategy, because you cover these things and I cover other things. So I get to kind of like put you on the hot seat and ask you some questions. So anything that they introduced, either new at the event or some, in the past several months this year, let's say, that supports kind of this hybrid setup event, or sorry,
yeah,
event. Yeah,
yeah.
hybrid.
So they're teaming up with Dell, and they have what's called AI in the box. It's a package set up for companies that want to run private AI securely behind the firewall without a ton of integration work. They added Iceberg REST, which is catalog for zero copy sharing and interoperability,
Mhm.
and also Lakehouse Optimizer to handle layout and performance tuning automatically. But I think, and I was talking to some executives about this, I see a shift in, everything can't always go to the cloud, but and I kind of bring in ERP when maybe I shouldn't necessarily, but I think it's this ERP is going to change to I think ERP is changing to event driven at some point, and these processes and workflows, I think are going to change where the AI agents are going to be more of a central theme of how things work. And Cloudera mentioned that they feel that they have to cater to that vision as well, because ERP is not going anywhere soon, and it's going to get more modernized as what I just said happens. But I think Cloudera has done a great thing here because of the fact, like, their competitors are, a lot of them are cloud first. I think that was one of your questions. I might have stole the thunder, but Databricks and Snowflake are cloud first, but if you need a hybrid approach, the strength will sit with Cloudera because of that.
So, in terms of their investment in AI tools, like, what are the things that they're doing to make it easier to train these models, have them in one place, use them somewhere else? I mean, how is that all kind of coming together for them?
Yeah, so they've invested in the AI tools pretty heavily, and to make it easier to train the models, in one place and use them somewhere else, even low code options, so teams without deep, enterprise or deep expertise can still build those AI applications. So it's about making the data companies already have it to be more usable. So you want to be able to have that data more as usable as possible, because that's a huge thing. So uh,
Mhm.
being very prevalent in many different industries.
And you mentioned the competitors, of course, Databricks and Snowflake, who you work with both
Mhm.
quite a bit. So, other than being cloud first, where do they stand out? What are the differentiators here between Cloudera and their competitors?
I think it's a ability to bring more data from different areas, and I think it's about bringing it faster. I mean, some of the things that they're specializing in with Cloudera, and I think the other platforms will say they do the same, but the hybrid strengths allow what I'm about to say within healthcare to have access, like what similar to what Oracle is doing with what they release with their healthcare tools, to be able to see all the data from the different places that say a patient needs to know. You need to have information on the patient, and you need to see what the care available is, the trials available, and then what medicines are available from different pharmaceutical companies that might not be the most known. You can pull that in through the different areas of the this anywhere approach to be able to have that in the platform for the healthcare companies to have that. I think we're going to see healthcare change over the next couple of years because of these new tools to be able to have this information at the forefront, which I
Yeah.
think is, like we talked about getting older, maybe we'll have more more access that we whether we need it or not, we can have it. That's a joke. Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to stop talking about getting older, but
Ooh, I still have hair, but
you know what? Speak for yourself, because I've just decided I'm not gonna get older, so
okay.
I
Sorry
think
about that.
we're good.
But anyway,
It's fine. I mean, the reality is probably with all of the innovations in healthcare and with AI, we're probably gonna actually have many things at our fingertips that we didn't have before, and
yeah.
I don't know, this is a dark subject. I don't even know if I wanna
Let's
live forever,
move on
but
from that.
let's
So
move on from that. So I think, the strength in those industries, I think that to me, that's a standout. But I think across all of these are in our conversation with whether it's Cloudera, Lenovo, Zoho, we talked about ServiceNow, Adobe, there really is this common thread that of data and AI at the center. I was just on a pre-brief for WebEx One, and that was all the things, a major focus. So it's really just about adapting to different audiences.
exactly. And so the enterprises need flexibility. They need to be organized. They want automation. SMBs need simplicity, accessibility. So no matter what the size, the challenge is always the same, turning data and AI into something useful without letting cost be the predominant decision maker, or
Yeah.
complexity or compliance get in the way. But data is, as Pat said yesterday on stage, it's everything. And but you need to be able to manage it and have a strategy and understand the influence of what data is going to be for you for the long term. And just a quick thing, we used to, 10 years ago and before that, we just closed the books. The data was shoved aside. It was never right. And so now that data is so important for decision making, for sales, for um, really the way that you control your cost, or your growth, or your, cross selling, or the way that you're going to, provide maintenance within your systems that you have. But
Mhm.
anyway, it's a
Yeah.
big deal. So data is everything.
Well, we always say it's the glue that holds everything together, right?
Yep. Yep. So I think this was great, and I appreciate the conversation. So thank
Yeah.
everybody else for joining us. Tune in for our next episodes. And if there's anything else that spurs you to deliver some encouraging topics for us, reach out to us, like us on LinkedIn and X, and we will look forward to see you next time. I'm Robert Kramer, Melody Brue. Thank you very much.
Thanks.